Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how you doing today?
I am doing great. I am so excited for today's show.
Well, we are back to one of your favorite Disney properties, so to speak, just because I don't have a better word for it. So let everybody know what we're talking about tonight.
Hot off the presses, we are going to talk about the brand new 2024 Adventures by Disney that were just announced.
So for those of you that have listened to our show consistently, you know that every once in a while, Sandy brings this Adventures by Disney conversation to the table because it's just one of the most unique and dynamic vacation styles that anybody can take, going all over the world with the Disney service. And now we have some more itineraries. So you're always talking about them. Give us a little bit about your history, what you've traveled for folks that aren't as familiar with our past shows.
You bet. And I'm going to start with my history of where I didn't travel.
Ooh, I like that.
When they came out with Adventures by Disney a little over 16 years ago, they started with 2 itineraries. They were both domestic. They had Hawaii and Wyoming. And obviously, well, Hawaii now has a resort. It did not then, and it certainly doesn't have a theme park.
Sure.
And they explained this concept, and I went, nah, not it, not interested. Frankly, not Disney. I don't care what logo you slap on it.
And
I was this is not me. This isn't your brand. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll last. We'll see. I was very skeptical, even as they went into year 2 and year 3 and year 4. One of the things that you may know about me is that our agency is an authorized Disney vacation planner. We have that special designation from Disney. And one of the requirements to get and keep your designation is you must sell in all divisions. You can't just be the Walt Disney World person or the Disney Cruise Line. You need Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Ulani, and that 5th bucket, so to speak, Adventures by Disney. And I was quite the holdout. But 11 years ago, I had my opportunity to go on my very first adventure by Disney. We went to Italy over Christmas. And I have to say, it was life-changing for me in how I thought about group travel, how I thought about international travel. It'll surprise you most certainly, Jeff, and many of our listeners, to know that I'm a little bit of a control freak, that I work while I travel, that I like to know what's going on and where we're going. And I'm usually that person, even now. I guide school groups. I was a Girl Scout leader. I was a PTA president. I'm always the one planning and facilitating and counting noses. And frankly, the idea of group travel and somebody else saying to me, you must be in the lobby at 9 a.m., I really didn't think was going to work for me.
Sure.
And what I learned in that Italy trip, especially because of the incredible adventure guides that Disney screens and has an applicant pool of literally about 1,500 times the number of people that they need to hire. Mm-hmm. So they can really select the cream of the crop. And because it's small group travel, there's a lot of flexibility in these plans. When they're moving from one city to the other, you go or you get left behind. But they really talk about, breakfast is usually, I'll say on your own, but included. They're staying at resorts that have breakfast or special rooms set up for breakfast for the adventurers. And they'll say, we're getting on the coach at 9:15. Breakfast opens at 6:30. And so you have some ability in setting your own day, in stepping aside if you need to take a call or an email. And so 11 years ago, I went to Italy and my love of adventures began. I have traveled to Costa Rica with them. to Peru, actually twice on the Peru adventure, twice on the now defunct New York City adventure, as well as the now defunct San Francisco adventure.
You've been around so long that they just keep taking adventures away and adding new ones.
And it's not my fault. Backstage Magic, which is held in Disneyland and takes you to the Imagineering areas and the Disney Studios. The Rhine River Cruise in partnership with AMA Waterways, which I've actually done twice now as well. The Danube River Cruise, and my last adventure was this past fall. I was in Portugal. I am currently counting down. I am at 98 days till I leave for Norway, and already booked for next year. I am on the Adriatic Expedition. So a different kind of cruise, not an Adventurous River cruise, not a big Disney Cruise Line ocean cruise. And I'm headed to Croatia, which I'm excited about with them. And I will also be going to Greece next year. And we've got 2 more trips up our sleeve that I'm not quite ready to reveal, but you'll be hearing about them soon.
So if anybody has any questions after that litany of trips that you've been on, certainly you are well equipped to speak about the Disney Adventures by Disney property, so to speak. Give us a little bit of breakdown. You talked a little bit how it's small group travel. You know, some people are weary about that. You kind of debunked a little bit of that from your end, but give us a little bit of basics before we break down what the new itineraries are.
You bet. So there's almost 50 destinations now. They are mostly small group travel. It's interesting because while there's 50 different tours that are offered, they also are very different in variety. We've got super active land tours. We've got some that are more calmer, slower pace, days at a dude ranch, international, domestic. And then on top of the land tours, we have what we call short escapes, little 3-day weekends in places like Copenhagen, Barcelona, London. Then they also have the river cruises that I mentioned and the expedition cruises. So they are on all 7 continents, heading to Antarctica as well. When you do either the river cruise or the expedition cruise, the group size gets bigger, but your number of guides also gets bigger. Again, I was leery of small group travel. I can say that. Hey, I have small group travel in my own town, and I don't always like everybody. People in Parsippany listening, close your ears. It might be you.
And they're shocked by that. They're all shocked.
Listen, everybody isn't going to love everybody. And while it's a group of 40, generally it's very cohesive. But I will say you end up closer with some people than others. Those of you who've been listening to the show regularly, you've probably heard one of our 2 different shows where we had Mike Raniero on. He did a review of his Galapagos Adventures by Disney, and he also talked to us about his time on the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Right.
I met the Raneros when traveling in Peru, and my Peru group was phenomenal. I've remained close to all but 4 of them. My Italy trip, that was my very first trip, there are probably 50% of us that did all of our on our own time together, had kids near the same age, and talk regularly or semi-regularly 11 years later. I am in contact with at least one family, if not several, from every adventure I've done. I've had the pleasure of talking to some of the people and coordinating to do a second or even a third adventure with them. So even if you think group travel isn't for you, it's not, what you saw in ads 20 years ago. It's a different feel. And again, Adventures by Disney has that service and style and storytelling, and they really create a unique atmosphere.
Okay, so we have some new itineraries. What's first?
We're going to start with Colombia.
Very hot in the Disney world right now, Colombia.
It is, and they actually put out a little YouTube video on it. it was literally inspired by the team researching Encanto.
Sure.
As I just said, they're all about storytelling and authenticity to that storytelling. So they had teams in Colombia for quite a while to make sure that they were really portraying scenery correctly and culture. And if you watch that YouTube video, they came back and said, oh my gosh, you've got to go here.
Mhm.
And that's what inspired it. For me, I'd love to go. I have talked on this show before about my father who doesn't fly, who I would love to convince to get back on a plane. My father was actually born in Bogota, Colombia. When
little personal tie there. That's nice.
Little personal tie when my grandparents left Germany in Nazi time, they were able to get to Colombia. That's where my father was born. And then he came to the US as a small child. So to me, that opportunity to go back in my father's history.
Yeah, walk those footsteps. Yeah, that's awesome.
Do it with Disney, with that person that I'm confident and feel safe with, and I'm letting them guide the story. But there's some on your own time, and I'm going to make my father or my aunt come up with a dress for me because I would love to head over and see. One of the other great things for people who are really on the fence and wanting to try adventures, I'm going to be very honest here. Some of them are not very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And the great thing about a lot of the ones that are in Central and South America is it's a lower cost when you talk about 4- and 5-star hotels. A 4- and 5-star hotel in Colombia is not anywhere near the cost of a 4- or 5-star hotel in Italy or Portugal.
Sure.
And so Colombia is another great adventure to get your feet wet. When the adventures open every season, the first several people to book on every adventure get a special, what they call an early booking discount. So the Colombia adventure starting price is $49.99. I'll give that extra little plug if it's okay for our agency.
Sure.
Our pricing is always going to be identical to Disney. We're going to help you through it, navigate a little bit of the extras. But as a thank you, we're going to pay your guide gratuities, one of the only non-included items. So kind of gives you a little bit more bang for your buck. There's going to be 6 family departures. And again, some of you who are tuning out quickly because you don't want to travel with kids, all of the adventures offer adult exclusive, 18 and up. There are 4 of those adventures. It's 7 nights, 8 days, and a little bit unique about the season that this adventure runs. While they're just releasing 2024, the Colombia adventure actually has dates through March of 2025. So if you've got spring break out there far enough along, this might be the perfect timing for you. You're going to...
So just to clarify something you just said there, so folks understand, there are six of these dates that are for families and 4 of them for adults.
Exactly. There'll be 10 departures in this inaugural year.
Okay. So let's break down the itinerary a little bit.
You're going to arrive in Bogota. You're going to depart from Cartagena. There are going to be 2 internal flights. And again, once you're there, with the exception of a meal or 2, everything is included, even those flights. And this adventure in particular really hits on everything that's Disney. It's history, it's cooking, it's dancing. You're going to get the chance to make a paella, that typical Colombian food. You're going to attend an asada, their traditional barbecue. Lunch is going to be held in a coffee field one day. You're going to get the opportunity again. You're going to get out there and really see and experience. You're going to hike the Carcara Valley. And then on a separate adventure time, you're going to head to a rum and chocolate tasting. What's not to love there?
Yeah, definitely.
A second hike in an area that has cotton top tamarind, which are the really cool monkeys you see with the high white hair. So I'm excited to see that. a visit to a fort in Cartagena that was built in 1536. So
Wow.
look at that history that we're going to get that lesson. And again, I think I mentioned you've got those 2 adventure guides with you everywhere, but they also are going to always have what we call a step-on guide. So when you're in Bogota, your step-on guide is from Bogota and is a specialist all about Bogota. And they're going to give you the history and the culture part. Your adventure guides are with you every step of the way, and they're your logistics people and doing those types of things. So you've got somebody with you who's constantly visiting and studying this fort to really not just give you information, but to answer any questions and give you really unique details. And then you're going to end with an incredible trip to the Rosario Islands and have the chance to go snorkeling and sailing. So what a phenomenal way to wrap up your 8 days.
Wow. And I have a lot of students, especially now, that are Colombian, and they go every year and they come back with awesome video and awesome photos and great stories. Just a really, really beautiful and culturally rich place. Sounds like a really awesome trip. Starting at $49.99. Definitely reach out to those folks at Easy Diz, as they said, you know, taking care of some things that you don't have to. But I know that that's not the only trip that they released today. So where else are we headed?
It is not. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have become a Europe girl. I love the architecture. I love the feel of Europe. And when I had a meeting and I said to them, they gave me that Colombian, I'm like, all right, you have a Europe? And they're like, no, there's nothing new in Europe this year. I will say my face fell a little bit. I was waiting to see what else on my bucket list. And I will say this wasn't on my list before I made it through my video call with them. But in Africa, they said to me, let's talk about Morocco. A new adventure for them, 10 days, 9 nights, 11 family departures, 4 adult exclusive departures. And I don't know, maybe they had me with the sentence, you're going to start in Casablanca at the Four Seasons.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
what sounds bad about that trip?
Absolutely nothing. Sounds great.
And so again, you're going to start in Casablanca. You're going to visit the largest mosque in Morocco. And again, while I said I'm a Europe person, I also said I'm an architecture person. And I think the mosques have phenomenal architecture and color palettes and such detail. So I'm excited to see that. It is actually the 2nd largest in the entire continent.
Very cool.
Head for a special lunch at a farmhouse. That's the kind of thing that's really exclusive to Adventures by Disney. Some of these things, yes, they're going to be on other tours. You can do them on your own. Some of the experiences you can't get unless you're with Disney. And some of them, the way that you're going to get them is different than anybody else does.
It just something like that feels like you're experiencing something more local, right? You're seeing the culture from a local perspective.
Exactly. And that's why it's always funny, when we were talking about Colombia and we talked about Encanto, I always hesitate to sometimes share some of those connections that Disney has. Their Scotland adventure connects to Brave, and their Norway adventure connects to obviously Frozen.
Right.
But when you're on these adventures, it's storytelling in comprehension.
Right.
Not in made up details, not in animation, not in you're going to meet, Anna and Elsa there. It's really about understanding the story of your destination and then immersing you in it. And that's why, for example, you're going to go on an archaeological visit in Morocco, and no adventure would be complete for me without a good shopping stop. So the Fez market and a cooking class. And then 2 of the big highlights that I'm looking forward to, a night of stargazing, and you'll have an astronomer with you, as well as a sunset camel ride. So I've never ridden a camel. I'm not
cool.
100% on board with it, but I'm 100% on board with the concept, and I'm going to put on my big girl pants and, get my bravery and put that in my memory bank as an incredible thing that we've done.
Yeah.
Later in the tour, a fossil workshop, the Baja Palace tour, and then a special Garden and Berber Museum visit. Really wrap up that time in Morocco, pick up some great souvenirs to bring home, but most of all, pick up memories, pick up those photos. Unlike your Walt Disney World or your Disneyland vacation where you can buy your memory maker, your Adventures by Disney really includes your memory maker. You're going to be able to download your photos. On My Adventures, we typically are getting 700 to 1,200 photos. Your adventure guides are taking site photos so that maybe you have that best Moss picture and they know where some of the little hidden gems are. So you're getting amazing photography of the area. And those are not canned shots. Every adventure, they take those photos. So if there was, a brick missing on your day, you're getting it with the brick missing. But if it was replaced by the next adventure, they're not. They're taking group pictures at some key places. They're taking family photos. They're really capturing you both candid and posed to create an amazing photo book when you get home. And again, that's included in your rate.
So you got 10 days. It's 11 family departures, 4 adults. Give us the price.
$76.99 is the starting price for select dates with that early booking discount. One of the key things to remember for Adventures by Disney is that they use what's known as dynamic pricing. So the first 4 people are going to pay less than the last 4 people. The only exception to that is for our DVC friends. They have locked in pricing. But again, that early booking, in the case literally of when adventures are released, gives you a special discount. But you might book it $76.99 a person, and then you finally convince your neighbor to go with you, and there's already 16 of the 40 people booked on this tour. They might pay $79.99 or $81.99. That price will continue to escalate.
Okay, so for those folks that here are just about 20 minutes, we're a little bit longer than 20 today. We do have one more itinerary, so let's run through that.
I'm going to make this one a little bit quicker.
Okay.
I think this one is for those that love the Adventure by Disney experience. They've done everything domestic. This isn't quite domestic, but close. Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Islands, so just to the north of us in Canada. If you've sailed with Disney Cruise Line, you've probably seen some of these sites. 8 days, 7 nights, pretty limited departures, just 2 family departures and 1 adult exclusive departure.
Okay.
And again, there's a lot of stories pretty much anywhere in the world. This one ties in with Anne of Green Gables. You'll actually get to visit the Anne of Green Gables Museum. You're going to spend some time on a farm. Prince Edward Island has a gorgeous lighthouse that you'll get to go and experience. You can't go that far north and not talk about lobster, and I can't do the right accent, but you'll get to do some lobster boat time and really understand what goes into lobster farming and fishing.
Great.
And then the Bay of Fundy, where the water swirls backwards. And this is one of those days where there's lots of different opportunity. There's canoeing on the water, there's biking, there's horseback riding. So really pick what works for your family. And again, if your family doesn't always need to be together, and mom and one child want a bike and dad and the other child want a canoe, it's about you and your vacation. So what works for you. And then also a cultural center visit. This one is definitely one of the ones that goes at a little bit more of a relaxed pace. It doesn't have all of that rich legacy that we talk about when we talk about places like Morocco and Colombia and some of the others. It is similar to a lot of our U.S. departures where you get a lot of family time and a lot less of that history and constant touring, but a fun trip for those looking ahead to Canada.
So 2 family departures, 1 adult departure. It's 8 days, 7 nights, and the price is?
Starting at $53.99 per person. And just a reminder, all of the departures are the price per person. Those are adult prices. There are child prices under 10. And that price is, I say, 98% all inclusive. Your airfare getting to and from the destination is not included. There's usually a couple of meals on your own. And when people say to me, why are they leaving out 3 meals? They're leaving out 3 meals because some of the cities have a lot of things that appeal to some people and not everybody, but there are other things that appeal to people. So you typically have an afternoon or evening on your own so that you can pick the highlight for you or go back to something that you saw and loved but want to spend more time at. And in order to coordinate that on your own time, it creates that on your own meal. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the last thing not included is your guide gratuities. So they include the gratuities for the bellman, the wait staff, the housekeepers, the motor coach driver, but they don't include those for the adventure guide. And again, our agency is pleased to pay those for you as a thank you for working with us.
Very, very cool. All right, we're coming to the end of the program. Anything else that you want to share with folks as we wrap up the show today?
Adventures by Disney, despite what I thought 16 years ago, has become incredibly popular. And so destinations do sell out. Again, there's that dynamic pricing. So similar to Disney Cruise Line, they open the adventures on 4 dates. So beginning next week, May 9th is previous adventurers who have done more than 3 adventures. May 10th is anybody who's ever adventured by Disney. May 11th is open to those who have sailed with Disney Cruise Line, you're a Disney Vacation Club member, or a Golden Oaks member. You will be able to book on the 11th, and then the general public, it opens May 12th. We definitely have all of the itineraries on our website. We're doing some little Zoom sessions to answer questions, and we already have a priority list. What's opening next week is every land adventure by Disney for 2024, not just the 3 new ones, all of the great things, the ones I've talked about that I've done, and the many more that are available.
Well, I know that this is definitely a passion of yours. You love this way to travel around the world. I thank you for lending your expertise because a lot of this is bucket list for people. And I know that it's stuff that you've had a chance to experience, that you continue to have a chance to experience, helping other people experience. So thanks for taking the time tonight and have a great week.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.